Okay, don't worry if you can't see this very well. I'm going to show it to you closer up so you can get a better look at it and all the ports, LEDs, things like that. First off, I'm going to tell you about what it is, what a HDMI splitter is in case you don't know. Then I'm going to list all the specs to you. Then near the end, I'm going to show you a HDMI cable plugged into it just to show you how sturdy or not sturdy it may or may not be. Then at the end, I'm going to tell you if I recommend it or not and the price. Okay, so it's a Hengjiaan 4K 1x2 HDMI splitter, and I've probably absolutely butchered the company name there, but never mind. It amplifies and splits a HDMI signal. So basically, what this does is you plug in one source. So that would be, say, a Blu-ray player or a PlayStation or something like that into one side of this. The HDMI goes from the HDMI port on the device, which is the PlayStation 4, to this. Then you have two HDMI ports on the other side of this box, which you'll see in a minute. And you plug a HDMI from one port into one TV or monitor and a HDMI into the other port to another TV or monitor. And what that does is it splits the signal, as the name suggests, HDMI splitter. So it sends the same image from the device to two different monitors or TVs. So say you're playing Call of Duty or GTA 5 on your PlayStation 4, you could have that same picture and sound go to two separate monitors or two TVs, so you got a double image. It isn't two different sources, so you couldn't say have a PlayStation plugged into this, go into two monitors or whatever, and a Blu-ray player plugged in, go into another monitor or whatever. It's the same source, the same image, the same device, such as a PlayStation or a Blu-ray, go into two, sending the exact same duplicate image to two different monitors. There's various uses for that. Some people just like that. Sometimes people like having the same image go to two monitors for like a bit more of a bigger area. Or if you're using some sort of HDMI receiver, you may also be able to actually kind of have the image stretch across two images. That's not what this does itself. It doesn't stretch two images onto two monitors so you have like a bigger image. It will be the same image unless you're using some kind of other device. It will be the same image. If what you're looking for is to have, say, 2 or 4 sources plugged into one box, but say you only have a TV or monitor with one HDMI port and you want to have more than one thing plugged in, such as a PlayStation 4 and a Blu-ray player, and switch between the two when you want to change over instead of having to unplug cables and replug different devices. What you're looking for is not a splitter, you're looking for a switcher. So if you want to have a box like this with, say, a PlayStation plugged in and a Blu-ray player plugged in and a cable TV box plugged in, and then switch between them because you don't have enough ports on your TV or whatever. If you're looking for something like that, you don't want a splitter. You may be getting confused. This is a splitter. You want a switcher. A switcher allows multiple sources to be plugged in and switched between the different sources. That's called a switcher, HDMI switcher, and I have reviewed a product similar to this previously, actually not long ago, on my YouTube channel, which was both a splitter like this and a HDMI switcher all in one, so it could act either way. It's reversible. This isn't reversible. This is only a HDMI splitter, so bear that in mind. It is compatible with 4K Ultra HD, as it says on the actual tin itself, on the actual box itself, and 3D. And that is also printed on there as well. As it says, it's 1x2 HDMI splitter, which means it's one source to two outputs, not the other way around. It is HDMI 1.4a, so just bear in mind that if you have a really new 4K TV that uses HDMI 2 or 2.1, or you have some sort of source that uses it as well, this is not 2.0 or 2.1 HDMI. Now that is not a big deal because most are not, okay? Most most TVs and monitors and sources such as PlayStations and things like that are not yet HDMI 2 or 2.1 ready, although it is backwards compatible anyway. But the chances are you don't have a TV or whatever, or at least a device such as a game console or Blu-ray player that's HDMI 2.0 or 2.1. If you do, if you do have a TV that's HDMI 2.0 or 2.1, and you have some sort of source such as some sort of Blu-ray player that's compatible with it, maybe not. Maybe don't get this product. Maybe look elsewhere. Make sure, if that's what you want, you find a splitter or switcher that says it's compatible with it, or not just compatible, but that it is actually to the HDMI 2.0 2.1 specification. If that's what you want, this is not it. But in most people's cases at the moment, this is going to be fine. It's HDMI 1.4a, although I would have liked to seen B. I would have liked to seen this as 1.4b. But still, 1.4a is going to be good enough for the average person, even people using 4K monitors. Even though it is compatible with Ultra HD at a resolution of 3840 by 2160, it is compatible with a lower resolution such as 1080i and 1080p Full HD. And it doesn't just support things like 1440p, it does do interlaced as well, such as 1080i and 1440i. It is also compatible with various frame rates, not just the normal kind of ones like 25, 30, 60. It does do that cinematic kind of 24p and 50 and 60 as well. And it is compatible with deep color, which depend upon your cable and device, things like that. Not all products are compatible with deep color, which basically means you get a lot more color range and deep, rich, vibrant colors out of the image quality. This does actually support deep color, 30-bit, 36-bit, or even 48-bit. Now some may only have deep color 30-bit. This does have 36-bit and 48-bit as well, so you should get some pretty good vibrant colors out of this, depending upon what you're plugging into, of course. The products itself that go into this, the monitor, the TV or the games console, and also the HDMI cable, will need to be compatible with deep color, but most HDMI cables are, and a lot of products are these days. But that is good, even if you're not really very technical and you don't know about deep color and you're not sure if you have products that use it and you're not sure if you want it, things like that. Don't worry, because it's just a bit of peace of mind. You know that this has it, even if you're not really sure what it is or if your cable supports it, if your TV supports it. It doesn't matter. This has it, so you know that it's really feature packed. It's got lots of features, this box. And it supports lots of really good quality. It has Ultra HD and lots of color ranges as well. So it has deep color, it has Ultra HD, it supports HDMI 1.4a, it also is HDCP compliant, versions 1.0 to 1.3, and HDCP is a copyright protection. So if some sort of product you're using requires HDCP, like some Blu-ray players or Blu-ray movies might, then this will work with it fine. Because sometimes if the thing you're using is not HDCP compliant, you might try to watch a Blu-ray movie, and because it detects that the thing you're plugged into isn't HDCP compliant, it won't work. Well, this is HDCP compliant, so you don't have to worry about that at all. It is also compatible with lots of different audio formats, and that includes surround sound and Dolby Digital and DTS. So it is compatible with LP CM, Dolby Digital AC3, DTS 7.1, DSD and Dolby True HD, DTS HD Master Audio as well. Now, from what I can remember, the other splitter and switcher I reviewed didn't tell you all those details. It didn't tell you about the color, deep color, and all the audio formats. If I remember rightly, I might be remembering this wrong, but I don't remember it mentioning all the things like deep color, even if it did support it. Whereas this one, you know you've got all that. It supports all that stuff, including all the sort of Dolby Digital and DTS audio formats and deep color. It also has an EIDI duration of 6 seconds. It is also compatible with HDMI receivers or HDMI receivers with 110 volt or 220 to 240 volt. So it's compatible with 110 volt or 220 to 240 volt HDMI receivers if you want to use this in conjunction with a HDMI receiver. Its input video signal is 0.5 to 1.0 volts. Its input DDC signal is 5 volt. And it has a bandwidth of 2.97 gigabytes a second. The price as well is quite reasonably priced. It's about what you'd expect to pay. A lot of these HDMI splitters or receivers are in a similar price range, and it is around about £14 in the UK. It's $13.98, or $15 in the US. It's $14.99 in the US. Now let's take a closer look. I'm hoping you can see this okay. I'm reaching around from behind the camera and I'm only using a little 3-inch screen on the back of my camera, so it can be a little bit hard to see what's in focus and what isn't. I think it's got to be okay though. As you can see, this is the top. It says 1x2, which means basically one source to 2 outputs. HDMI splitter, 4K and 3D. It's made of aluminium, so it is a metal housing, a metal shell. It's not cheap thin plastic, it is actually metal all around. Now if we look at this side here, we have a red LED, and that is a power indicator to show we have power. That's a nice little touch. They don't all have power indicators or any LEDs necessarily. This has a power indicator there on the far left. Then we have a 5 volt DC power slot there for the power. Then we have the HDMI input and a green LED to the right of that to show that a input is plugged in and getting power. So that is where you would plug in your PlayStation or your Blu-ray player or whatever it is in this one here. The other one I reviewed, the splitter and switcher, didn't need external power. I'm not sure why this does, especially when it's a splitter and not a splitter and switcher. The other one didn't need any external power. It got all its power from the TV or the PlayStation or whatever. I think that's probably actually a good sign. I normally like products that are powered, self-powered by the various devices they're plugged into and don't need to be plugged into mains. However, I think the reason this does is because it is very high quality. It has a high quality image. It has deep color, so I think the reason it has external power is to really boost the quality, so it isn't relying on the various devices' power and trying to drain its power and kind of taking up the cable and stuff on the power. I think by also when you're using power from HDMI or using power from a USB, it has a certain amount of power it is allowed or capable of getting. Whereas when you get something that's plugged into mains, it can of course get a lot more power than it could via USB or whatever. So I think in this case this is a good sign because it means that it is not relying on the power from the Blu-ray player or whatever. It is actually got its own power source, so it doesn't have to rely on that. So that, in this case, I think is a good sign. Then on that side there is nothing. On the side there's nothing. Then on this side here, we have HDMI output 1, and there's a HDMI. Then on to the right of that, there's a green light, green LED. Then next to the green LED, there's another green LED. Then to the right of that LED, there is a HDMI output 2. So basically, that is where you plug in one of your monitors or TVs. Then to the right on the other port, you plug in the other TV or monitor. And there is a green LED light for each of those. So say we only had one output plugged in, then that one would have its green LED lit, but not the other one. Or if we have both plugged in and they're both getting power and it's detecting them both fine, they'll both be lit. Both LEDs will be lit. Then on the bottom there is nothing except for sort of safety information. It says made in China, CE and FC rated, and ROHS, things like that. Okay, I hope you can see this. I'm coming at it from a weird angle underneath the camera, or behind the camera here. So there we go. I don't think my hand might have been in the way, but it went in fine. But it went in with a little click. As you can see, I'm not holding the cable. Well, you might not be able to see both my hands, of course. There's my other hand. I'm not holding the cable. I'm just holding the box, and the cable hasn't dropped out. Even if it looks like there is a gap there, that is just the shape of this. It is actually in all the way fine. And if I try to pull it out, I have to give it a little tug. It doesn't just sort of drop out easily. It doesn't pull out easily. It does take a little tug because it is in there nice and snug. There might be a bit of wiggle, but that's more the cable and the shell wiggling. The port isn't really wiggling much. And if I kind of, yeah, it doesn't feel weak in there. It feels nice and stable. And if I like try to take it out, I do have to tug it, and that is a good sign. Okay, not everybody perhaps likes it when you have to tug a bit on a USB cable or a HDMI cable. I actually really like that because it shows that both the cable and the port fits nice and snugly, and it isn't going to drop out, because I have had USB cables before that were not made well at all. They were made really badly, and I've plugged something in to charge, like say a smartphone to charge, and I've left it, and the cable, even though nothing has pulled it, nothing's touched it, the cable has just dropped out and it hasn't actually charged the device because it's been so weak. Even if you just kind of like nudged it like that, just give it a little nudge with your finger gently, it would drop out of the port because either the port is weak or the cable's weak. I've had that with both ports and cables. I've had weak USB ports and I've had weak cables, and the cable's just dropped out and it hasn't charged properly. Or even if it hasn't dropped out, even if the cable stayed in, it's been in so loosely it hasn't charged at full speed or not correctly. So I like it when you have to give a cable a little tug because it shows that it's in nice and firmly. You've got to have a solid connection, a solid signal, and it's not going to drop out. And that is the case with these ports. I've tried them all three. I've used it. They don't drop out. It's a strong, good quality picture, good quality signal. It works very well. What is included in the box? Well, the unit itself, of course, a very basic small manual. It just gives you a bit of details about the specs and also contact information and a couple things to try, troubleshooting things to try if you're having problems. And then there is a power cable. Of course, you get the correct cable for your country. This one here is a 3-prong end for the UK, and it has on the other end a small DC port that goes into that hole I showed you. Of course, if you're getting this in another country, I'm sure it will have the correct cable, but that is quite good because some products, especially if they're a bit cheaper, they won't include those sort of DC power adapters, the cords. You'll have to have one already. That doesn't happen often, but occasionally you do see that. This comes with it and the unit, a decent box. The package don't really matter particularly, but I've seen a lot of products at this price range with a lot cheaper kind of cardboard boxes. This is cardboard, but it looks decent, and it's a bit thicker than a lot are really weak. It's packaged well. It itself has LED lights next to each port and a power light next to the power port, and it has a aluminium shell, nice sturdy shell all around, so it's not flimsy plastic. It supports 4K, 3D and lots of deep color formats and audio formats. It is really good. It's a really high quality splitter. Just bear in mind that this is a splitter and not a switcher. I think I've explained the difference well enough in case you don't already know. It looks nice with the green, almost Tron looking kind of style. I don't know why it reminded me of Tron, but it did, although it's normally blue. But anyway, it's a nice high quality metal shelled product, and I really do recommend it. It works well, the ports are sturdy, it's made well, and it's made of metal. Good quality product for the price. Please like and comment on this video. A link will be in the description to the Amazon page along with this video on YouTube. Please also do me a huge favour and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it just takes a few seconds and will help me out a lot. Also, if you're watching this as a review on the Amazon product page, please hit the helpful button along with this review. That will help me out a lot too. Thanks for watching.